All right, we are recording.
Sounds good.
Oh, that's a what kind of headset is that?
Oh, I don't remember. It's some like PlayStation headset. It's like a cheap PlayStation headset.
But it's only on one side.
Yeah, it's just on one side and it's like an open headset so you can still hear everything around you.
Hey,
So
that's
I
actually pretty
used to
cool.
like
I
it
need
because I
something
just
like that.
used it. I just used it for chats during gaming. That way I could still use the speakers from the TV and stuff.
You know what?
So
That's actually a pretty good idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
then it's not like all in your head. So the audio from the people is separated from the game. So I always liked that.
definitely, definitely. Well, everyone, my name is Josiah. I'm here with my good friend Austin, and today we are going to be listing our top five biggest surprises of the year. Um, and then we have a couple of TV shows in there. I
Hmm.
know that as of this recording, it is December 1st, so we still have a month left, but I think
Yeah.
11 months is good enough at this
Most
point.
of the shows for this year are out at this point. Anything that does come out after this is going to carry over into next year, anyways. So,
Pretty much. And, I do wish we were making this video like a little later because I'm seeing Thanksgiving tomorrow, like I told you.
hmm,
So maybe
yeah,
that would have been
I might
better than I
change some things.
expected.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's still a few movies this year I'm excited for, and a couple TV shows, but for the most part, we're pretty covered.
yeah, I haven't really watched TV a lot lately. Not TV shows, I should be
Hmm.
specific. I've just
Yeah.
been busy with the house and everything, and then I've
Hmm.
just been really watching One Piece. I think I'm like
Yeah.
episode like almost 450 at this point.
Hmm.
I have been skipping the fillers, so it's not like I've watched
Yeah.
450 straight
Uh
episodes,
huh.
but it's still been a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So would you like to go first with
Sure.
your top five?
So basically, what I put together, just to give you an idea, is I have a list of 5 movies that I think were surprise hits. And I did come up with 5 TV shows too. I found some more TV shows I
Oh,
wanted to
really?
talk about. Yeah. So
Okay.
I got 5 movies and 5 TV shows. And then I have one dud of a movie and one dud of a TV show to talk about too.
Okay.
Because it's still a surprise if you're excited for it and then surprises you by being bad.
Yeah, I might have to think of something on the fly then.
Yeah. So first one I wanted to mention that I think was a big surprise hit was Gran Turismo.
Okay.
I don't know if you had a chance to see that one yet.
No, I wasn't interested. So.
We saw it in the theaters, and being a video game movie, we weren't sure kind of exactly how it was
Mhm.
going to turn out. And I've never been a huge like racing game guy. I enjoy them for what they are, but I never got into Gran Turismo. But I was excited for the movie. I thought David Harbour was really great in it. I thought he'd had probably one of the best roles in it, and then the rest of the cast was really good too. But I think the thing that got myself and Barbie most was the story. We really liked the story of it being like based on true events and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So being a video game movie, everyone was unsure, but then but it wasn't a video game movie because it takes place about a video game, but it's not like an adaptation of a video game. It's a true
Hmm.
story that revolves around it. So it was really cool. We've seen it twice now. We saw it in theaters and then we watched it over Thanksgiving with my family because they hadn't seen it yet. So that was definitely one that had a big surprise from. I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a really great movie.
Awesome. Are we? I'm sorry. Did we clarify how we're doing this? Am I doing one? You're
You
doing
can do
one?
one now. Yeah, we'll take
Okay.
turns.
This has kind of just been chronological order of like when they came out, but my
Sure.
number one is biggest surprise, meaning like the first on my list is Megan.
Hmm.
I'm not really, I'm big on like slasher films, and I
Yeah.
know a lot of people they were probably reminded of like the Child's Play movies with like
Hmm.
Chucky, but
Yeah.
I think I saw it with Tyler and my mom,
Hmm.
uh, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, it
Yeah.
was there's some really great characterization in there.
Hmm.
I did like some of the themes and like the way that we deal with grief and like when it
Yeah.
comes to children and like kind of like
Hmm.
the substitution of technology for like parenting and actual like
Right. Yeah.
counseling. Um
Yeah. I liked that aspect of it a lot too. And
yeah,
even the commentary it had on like AI and stuff like that too was really
definitely.
relevant.
And then I'm sure with you like being a father now, it kind of changes the
Yeah.
way of like
With
TV
parenthood and
time and
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Uh-huh.
yeah, I thought it was great. I haven't watched the unrated version yet. I was thinking
Hmm.
about it last night, but I was like, I'm too tired to watch it
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
TV.
I did
So
not. You saw it in theaters. I did
yes,
not watch it in theaters. I streamed it somewhere. It was streaming somewhere, I think on Amazon or something like that. And I did watch the unrated version because I was like,
Really?
well, if I'm going to watch it, I might as well watch the unrated version. So next time I watch it, I might watch the PG-13 one. We'll see. But I feel, from what I heard, the unrated version was basically like it just showed you some more of the gore and
Mm,
violence kind of thing. So it was like they added like a little bit more language, and you, rather than shying away from the violence, they showed it. So I think
okay.
it's kind of like your preference kind of thing.
Hmm.
But
Cool.
I really liked it. It's on my wish list to pick up. I just haven't yet. I want to get that 4K Blu-ray for it.
Yeah, I get that, man. I get that.
I was hoping for Black Friday sale, but it didn't happen.
I don't know if I got the 4K, but when I picked it up, it was like 14 bucks at
Hmm.
Target. So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Cool. My next one, I think you did watch this one. This is the one that they dropped on Hulu like a month or so ago. Was No One Will Save You.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool because that was one that, like, going into this year, we knew Gran Turismo was coming, but we didn't know how it'd be. But like, No One Will Save You, I didn't know anything about it
Hmm.
until like I think it was like a week before the movie came out when they like dropped a trailer for it or something. And I think you and I both watched the trailer and was like, that looks really cool. So I watched that. I think the day it came out on Hulu, and I thought that was really great. I thought it was really cool filmmaking as far as like taking advantage of like basically no dialogue in the whole movie was really cool. And I think I was like 20 minutes into the movie and I was like, they haven't said anything yet. It's like, is this
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
just
I
gonna
felt the
like
same
have
way.
no dialogue at all? Like that'll be really interesting.
By the
And I
way, am I
think
am I kind of like choppy right now?
no, you're coming
Because
through
like I
good.
can hear your audio fine, but your
Hmm.
video, you're like it's like buffering. So I just want to make
No,
sure everything's
no,
all
no,
right.
sounds good for you.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I really liked that aspect of the movie. And I forget the woman who plays the main character. I forget the actress. I don't remember her name. It's like Danielle something or Daphne.
Maybe I
I
can't
don't remember. Maybe
remember.
her character's name was Daphne. I don't remember. But I really liked her. I thought she was really good. She carries the movie well, especially as like, pretty much the only character in the movie that does anything significant aside from, people who pop up here and there. But I thought that was really cool. I thought the alien stuff was cool because it was like very old school alien stuff as far as like,
Mm-hmm.
their traditional big heads, big
Yeah,
eyes
little
kind of
green
thing.
men.
Yeah, little green men with big eyes. But then they did the cool thing with like the one spider alien was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, that really kind of that
And
was so
then like,
creepy. Yeah.
yeah, and I like how the ending was kind of like obscure and up for interpretation of like,
Mm-hmm.
where is she really? Is this
Yeah.
reality? Is this all in her head kind of thing? So I thought that was really cool too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely one I want to go give another watch at some point. I just haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, I know my mom really likes kind of like creepy stuff like that. So I've been waiting
Hmm.
to find some time to invite her over so we could watch
Yeah.
it because I think she'd
Yeah.
really enjoy it. I don't know
Yeah.
how she'll feel about the ending though, but I think
Hmm.
overall she'll
Yeah.
like it.
It's an ending you have to
Just
appreciate.
accept, yeah.
Yeah. You just have to accept that that's
Hmm.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's up for your own interpretation, but that's the ending they went with.
My second one on my list is Missing.
Hmm.
I remember you told me about Searching and I gave it a watch.
Yeah.
I just thought it was great.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was something that needed a sequel, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Yeah.
So when Missing came out, I remember when I first saw like the trailer or something, I was like, Missing, oh, it's kind of like Searching. And then at
Hmm.
some point later, I realized it was made by the same directors or
Yeah.
director.
Yeah. Yeah. The same
Um,
creators. Yep.
I did like some of the ways that they changed up the format, but they kept it the
Hmm.
same. Like they did the
Yeah.
whole showed like the maps on like the iPhone, like the blue
Hmm.
line, and then the whole
Yeah.
FaceTime aspect from
Hmm.
like somebody across the world where her mom
Yeah.
supposedly went missing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I liked how it existed in the same world as Searching, but not so
Hmm.
much to where like there was all these references to it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like they
And
had
it
the
was
one in the beginning with the Netflix series, and like that
right,
was it.
right. And that
Yeah.
definitely is like a reference to the times that we live in is like every
Hmm.
big, scandal or
Right.
whatever gets like an
Yeah. It has to get a
adaptation on some
Netflix series.
streaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I liked the twist though. I mean, I
Hmm.
guess I kind of saw one coming, but I liked the way it appeared to be at first, and then they
Hmm.
kind of did the double twist. I was like, okay, I mean, I can
Yeah.
understand that, but the
Hmm.
the twist that I thought was coming first, I liked that a lot more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
overall, it was a lot of fun, and I would definitely be open to more movies in
Yeah.
the
I
Ingverse. I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool if they keep going, especially if they keep going the way they have so far and
Hmm.
almost make it like an anthology of movies, kind of like the Cloverfield. Like they're all in
Right.
the same universe, but they're like individual stories and individual
I
characters.
think they're gonna like run out of like those like what Olympus Has Fallen movies. I feel like at some
Yeah.
point, if they keep it up, they're gonna run out of titles. So the only thing they can think
Yeah.
of is like Finding,
Right.
and then Hiding. I don't know. It's like at some
Yeah.
point you're gonna run
Something
out of
ing.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need a verb with an ing on the end of it. All right. So my next one, I don't know if you've watched this one. I don't remember. Was that one they just put on Amazon Prime like a month or two ago? Was Totally Killer, the slasher?
No, Tyler has forgot what her Amazon Prime stuff was, so I haven't been
Uh,
able to watch anything on Prime yet.
yeah. That one was really cool because it's kind of like a Scream movie where like it's self-aware and that like it knows it's a slasher movie. It's not to the extent of like a Scream movie, but it just kind of like plays with the genre. It's made for people who like are familiar with it, that kind of thing. So I really liked that aspect of it, and I thought I love anything 80s. So even though I'm not an
Mm,
80s kid, 80s nostalgia
yeah.
for sure. So I liked all that aspect of the movie too. And I thought it had a good story, good themes. The kills were fun and creative, that kind of thing. So I really liked that one.
Nice. Maybe I'll check it out someday, you know.
Yeah, I think it's not like a super long movie either. I think it's only like an hour and a half, so it's a quick
Oh,
like
oh,
in
like
and out
the
fun
the
little slasher.
the way movies used to be, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate those so much more now, especially after being a parent, when you
Yes.
only have like nap time to yourself. Like,
Jeez,
yes,
man.
this movie's only 90 minutes.
I think for me, my third one, I really honestly didn't have any intention of watching it, but when we were at Life Group some months back, we were hanging out, we watched it, and that's Jesus Revolution.
hmm
I think like you, I kind of feel the same way. Where overall,
Yeah.
there have been a lot of Christian or like faith-based movies that just have not been good.
hmm
And I know Jesus Revolution kind of came off that way, but when we finally
Yeah.
watched it, I'm like, you know what? This is actually pretty good. I did like
Yeah, it
the
was.
um, kind of based on a true story kind of aspect to it,
hmm
and just showing how all of this sort of happened. And there
hmm
was, I think, my favorite scene was like when Greg was getting baptized and that whole water trick of him
Yeah.
being like that was I thought a
Yeah.
great shot. I thought the
hmm
humor in there was great too. Like when he was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
do you know about Jesus?" And the guy looks over, he's like, "Oh no, this is Lonnie." But
Yeah.
then he also played Jesus in The
uh-huh.
Chosen. So I was
Yeah.
like, just lots of little good jokes here and there,
Yeah.
and a really good story and
Yeah.
performances. So
Yeah. Yeah, we
yeah.
really like that one too. That one probably could have been on my list. It just didn't come to mind when I was putting it together. But another thing I know Barbie pointed out when we watched that one that was really cool is it's not afraid to like shy away from like the scary stuff in the world and the dark stuff. Like they weren't afraid to show the
Mm,
scenes of them being high on their drugs and the scary situation that they got in with the car accident and stuff
oh
like
yeah,
that. So like
definitely.
we really appreciated that it was like we're gonna tell this true story and we're not gonna sugarcoat it just
Hmm.
because we have a primarily Christian audience. Like they're
Right,
not afraid to
right.
show it as it really is, kind of like as our one of our favorite Christian movies of Ragamuffin. Like they're not
Hmm.
afraid to show the dark side of humanity and what we struggle with and stuff. So
Yeah,
we really like that aspect of it. So if that's a movie that's a sign of Christian movies making a turn, I'm all for it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So next one for me was just came out a couple weeks ago, the new Hunger Games movie.
Okay.
I really like the first two Hunger Games movies. I think they're great. I don't really care for either of the Mockingjay ones. I think
Hmm.
there's too drug out and too whatever at that point. But so like on that, I was like, okay, well, Hunger Games is coming back. Barbie had read the book, so she was like, no, the book's
Okay.
really good. So I'm excited. So she kind of got me excited for it based on how she thought the book was going to be. But I was still nervous because I was like, well, we're 50-50 right now as far as the movies in this franchise go.
Yeah,
But then we
I've
went to
only
go
seen the
see
first
it.
one.
Yeah, so then we went to go see it and it was like, dang, this is really good. So we both came out of it really liking it. She said it was much more accurate to the book than the last couple of movies were
Hmm.
in the series, so I'm sure that helped too, kind of being more reliant on the source material.
Yeah.
It is a long movie and it's told in a very structured like three it's kind of like three separate stories about
Okay.
different periods in this guy's life, but it's the guy who will become President Snow in the Hunger Games movies.
Okay.
And so it's him when he's younger and what happened to kind of mentally get him to the point where he eventually gets into office as president and becomes
Mhm.
the horrible, wretched person that he is. So it was
Interesting.
really
Yeah.
interesting because you kind of like start to empathize with him a little bit and understand. I mean, you don't you don't condone any of the stuff he does, but at the same time, you can kind of understand what drove him to that point. So it's really cool.
Mhm.
There's some Easter eggs along the way to like references of stuff that'll come in the
Yeah.
future of the series, but it was really good. It was a surprise because I really wasn't sure what to expect on
Mhm.
the movie and where it would end up landing. So I was really happy that we really enjoyed it that much.
Yeah, I really like characters like that where you say like,
Hmm.
okay, like it reminds me. You saw the Watchmen movie back in like '09.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think one of my favorite parts is where like Ozymandias is like explaining their plan to him and
Hmm.
says, Dr. Manhattan's like, you understand. He's like, without condoning or condemning, I understand. So it's like, I may not
Hmm.
agree with it. I may not
Yeah.
judge you for it, but I
Hmm.
completely understand where you're coming
Right.
from. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of characters these days are very nuanced to where it's like,
Hmm.
I could see kind of where they're coming from and how they
Yeah.
got to this point.
Right.
Um, yeah, like I said, I didn't read any of the Hunger Games books. I think since they're all mostly like YA, I wasn't
Yeah,
really
I
like
read
I
the
kind of
first
grew
one
out of
like back
that.
when the movies first came
Really.
out, and that was it. Yeah.
And I still think Harry Potter is the one to blame for like every young adult franchise.
Yeah.
The last book has to be split into two movies, and it's just like,
Right. Yeah.
but
Twilight did it,
yeah.
then Hunger Games, like everybody did it.
Hmm.
Divergent, and then they didn't even finish the
Oh,
series.
they didn't.
No, they made
Oh,
3 movies, and then the 4th one had all kinds of issues, and then it was going to turn into a TV movie, and then they just had to drop it, and it never got finished. So it's
jeez.
to this day, it's an unfinished series of movies. They finished the books, but they never finished
Well,
the movies.
at least
Yeah,
Dune is getting finished. I'm still happy about that.
yeah, that's all that matters right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
But
if we don't get Dune Messiah, as long as we get
yeah,
Dune Part 2.
yeah. I mean, I hope they make Dune Messiah, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think for me, number 4 is the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what I was gonna get with it. I guess I think I talked to you a little bit about it. I was kind of expecting to go a little bit of like the Lego movie route where it's like
Hmm.
none of it's happening really. It's just kind of the
Right.
imagination of this kid.
Hmm.
Um, but it was something totally different.
Right.
My main motivation for seeing the movie was from Ryan Gosling, but I did
Yeah.
like all the different Barbies in it, all the different Kens, the
Hmm.
way that they didn't shy away from like in Barbie Land that they were actually toys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It
like the
almost
whole
like kind
surfing
of
thing and they just
Yeah,
go
it
flying.
was like it almost was Lego Movie like, but
Right.
it wasn't that kids were playing with them. It was just they just kind of exist in their own world kind of thing.
Hmm.
There's still like a connection to the real world, but it's not quite
I
Lego
think it's
Movie-esque.
more of like a Toy Story to where like
Hmm.
they live in the real world and they're kind of aware of what's going
Right,
on,
but
but they're
it's almost in the
still
toy's head kind of
right.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it was really good.
it was not what I was expecting at all, but
Hmm.
I did enjoy it. There's
Yeah,
some
definitely
great
definitely a
memeable
surprise as
moments
far
and
as our expectations going in, and just like,
mhm,
how well it did and stuff like
yeah.
that. They
I still want to
definitely
get a
pulled it
shirt that
off.
says "I'm Knuff" or like a
Yeah.
hoodie. I totally
Yeah.
want one of those.
You think Gosling's gonna get an Oscar nomination?
You know what? I hope so, just because he's
I've
Ryan
heard
Gosling.
rumors he might. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Isn't it for best supporting actor? Is that what they mean?
Yeah, I think it would be best supporting actor.
And I
Yeah.
think didn't his song, like his Ken song, get
Yeah,
nominated
his
for a
songs, I
Grammy?
think it's eligible to get a nomination. Obviously, it's too
Eligible
soon
to get a
to.
nomination. Yeah.
Yeah, it's eligible for it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That and the Peaches song.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
going to be an interesting year for best
Yeah.
original song.
Yeah, I think it at least the Ken song makes more sense out of context as it does in context. Because when
Hmm.
Mario was coming out, the whole Peaches thing, I was like, "What is this about? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand." And then seeing the movie, I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. It's so much fun. All right. My last one for movies is no, I'm not a fan of this IP, but the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves
okay.
movie, I thought that was a ton of fun. Like it wasn't like great by any means, but it was just a
Mhm.
super fun movie. And funny enough, as our conversation with Barbie went, it's kind of a similar setup in that like you're within the world of some kind of Dungeons and Dragons
Oh,
campaign, but
okay.
it never goes into the quote unquote real world of like people around a table playing, a campaign or something like that. It's
Mm,
just like we're going to just go into the world of the game and here's an adventure that a bunch of people went
okay.
on kind of
Alright.
thing. So yeah, it was really fun. I watched it on Amazon. I don't know if it's still streaming on there, but I being someone who wasn't really into Dungeons and Dragons, it's something I'd like to get into at some point, but the little bit I know about it's basically from Stranger Things. That's about it. And so
Right.
I was interested in it, but I wasn't
Mhm,
sure, how it would play. And then it came out, and then it did really well in the box
mm,
office, and reviews were pretty good. So
yeah.
I'm glad I checked it out. It was a really fun one. Chris Pine's
I
really funny in it. Michelle Rodriguez, she's like stereotypical Michelle Rodriguez, but
Oh
like it
yeah,
totally works within the world of the
nice.
movie. So
Yeah, I
yeah, it
have
was
at
fun.
least one or two friends that I know that actually were into Dungeons and Dragons that saw it,
Hmm.
and they really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
So I think if something you're already into, you'd probably get a lot
yeah,
more out of it. But
yeah. I think they're working on another one, so I'm
hmm
definitely game for more movies in the series. It just keeps it in my mind of something I definitely want to do. So as long as that idea stays fresh and I eventually start playing the game, it's worth it.
nice. And then my last one, it's one you already mentioned earlier, which is no one will save you.
Yes.
It's just another one of those things that you recommended to me, and then I was like,
Hmm.
eh. And then having watched it, I was like, man, this is really good. Like you
Yeah.
said, just I liked the I don't know what to say. The decision to go back to the traditional alien
Hmm.
look at first,
Yeah.
and then like you said, they get a little bit more creative with some of the alien designs, which is something that always impresses me as like as much um, sci-fi stuff as we have had in like history to still
Hmm.
come up with the design that's not only really cool but also kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I thought was great.
Yeah. They
Um,
took something that's like been in the zeitgeist for so long, but still made it feel like fresh and interesting.
yeah, yeah, I liked the backstory of her and like why nobody likes her.
Hmm. Yeah. It just like slowly kind of spoon fed to you throughout the
Mhm.
series and teases and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then in the end, I feel like it really pays off. For as much as like there's mystery at the end of the movie of like what's actually going on, I think
Mhm.
it totally pays off.
Yeah, yeah, it does, and I thought some of the action sequences were pretty cool and,
Hmm.
just a lot of suspense, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
I
that opening
definitely
sequence
enjoyed it.
was amazing. That movie and The Killer, that new Netflix one.
Okay.
I think those two movies have like, at least from what I've experienced here at home, are like the best sound design I've heard in a movie this year. Just because
Oh,
they do
nice.
so cool with like surround sound effects and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely recommend based on that. So I guess we'll tap into spoilers a little bit on it. What do you think as far as the ending of that movie? Is it all in her head, or did this actually happen?
Um, Maybe a little bit more, like, in her head, I think, because
Hmm.
like, because then I feel like it would get a little, like, WandaVision-y if, like, they
Yeah.
just took over this whole town. It's like, what about the rest of the world? Are you just gonna
Hmm.
put them, like, under a hypnotic spell too? Or
Right.
you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
maybe letting her live out a life where she does have friends or is liked by people would be a kind of like a mercy at that point.
Yeah.
Unless they're just abducting her and just, like, keeping her a prisoner or something.
Yeah, yeah, I'm almost wondering. I kind of lean more on the side of they abducted her, and then it's all like in her head of like she just now everything's sunshine and rainbows for her kind of
Hmm.
thing. It's almost like Arrival, but if things went a different way.
Yeah. But then it's also weird because it's like, why her out of everybody in the world, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. All
I
right.
might have
Let's
to
see.
rewatch it before I can decide.
Yeah. All right. So TV shows wise, I had to go back a little bit on this one, but I think this came out over the summer or maybe it was in the spring, and it's an Apple TV Plus show called Silo. I don't know if you heard about that one.
I probably have, I think so.
It's got Rebecca Ferguson in it from like Dune and stuff like that. She plays the mother, and it was one I knew nothing about. It's a book adaptation, and it's kind of like this. And basically, all these people live in a nuclear missile silo, and basically, they've been told that the world ended, we got into a nuclear war, there's radiation everywhere, you can't go on the surface. So it's kind of like somewhat familiar of a setup, almost kind of like the 100 kind of thing where people are
Okay.
underground. And so you follow Rebecca Ferguson's character. I don't remember her name because I'm a little far removed from the show, but she's someone who's like an engineer and she works on the generator that's down below to keep it running, to keep the power on
Mhm.
and stuff.
Okay.
And so all these events happen that basically she becomes the sheriff all of a sudden, and
Hmm.
they're trying to figure out this mystery that basically there's almost like a revolution that thinks that this is all fake and that earth is actually
Mhm.
survivable on the surface,
Yeah.
and the government down there is kind of like keeping people down there to control them and stuff. And
Hmm.
so she, being someone who isn't familiar with that kind of part of society, has to like figure out what's going on, what's the truth, what's a lie, kind of thing. So it was just a really cool like mystery science fiction show that Barbie and I watched it together, and we both really liked it. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year. I think it might end up on my top 10 for the year.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. It does seem interesting. I might have to figure
Hmm.
out a way to watch it.
Yeah. I think we had like a few month trial because we bought some Apple device or something. So then we checked it out. There's a couple more things on there that I'd like to watch. It's just hard to justify another streaming service these days.
Yeah. For me, this is one you and I have already talked about many times, but it's
Hmm.
Barry season 4. So just like the
Yeah.
ending of Barry that came out this year.
Yeah.
Um, I know when I was telling you when I was watching it, it just I had no idea where it was going, and then they did
Yeah.
that like
It's
8-year
such a
time jump, and I
departure from the
was
rest of the
like,
show.
and then the way they just tied it all together, and it's like I still don't know how I feel about the ending. Like it's a good,
Yeah.
satisfying ending, but it's
Right.
like I don't know. It's like in my ideal mind, it would be like something a little bit different, but
Hmm.
I thought it was great. I definitely think it wrapped up the show in a good way.
Yeah.
Um,
We weren't
so
really
yeah.
expecting a happy ending as much as it would have been nice.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like it could have
Yeah.
gone a couple different ways because I have a friend coming in out of town in a couple hours, and he was a big like a Dexter fan. So
Hmm.
just like the way that Dexter ended, and he told me a little bit about that, I was like, I could feel like it could kind of end a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But that's obviously not what happened. So
Hmm. Yeah. Cool. My next one is one that's on HBO. I don't know if I've told you about this one or not. It's the animated show My Adventures with Superman.
I've heard about it. I've heard
Okay,
about
I couldn't remember if I told you about it or not, but it was one that was like a huge surprise to me because Superman has been done so many different ways
it.
and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I was really skeptical at like them doing Superman in a different way, but it actually turned out to be really cool. I think it was like a 10 episode series or something like that, but they almost took Superman, they made him really young, so he's like college age or something like that.
Hmm.
And it's got all the Superman stuff in there where like he gets the job at the Daily Planet. You got Lois Lane. He's got his secret identity as Spider-Man and stuff. And so I just thought it was a really cool story in that like it takes a lot of elements from Superman's like comics and all the different stuff that we know about him as far as like the villains and the powers and all that kind of stuff. It just took all that and did it in a new refreshing kind of way. It's almost like, and I say this as a compliment, it's kind of like Superman, like the millennial version kind of thing,
Okay.
where like everything's very modern and contemporary as far as the society and the culture and stuff like that. And so I thought it was really cool and really well done. They had, it's animated in this, traditional superhero comic book style, kind of like, Invincible and stuff like that.
Mm,
But I thought it was really cool. And it's what's really cool about it too is I think it was done intentionally. It's designed to be very like family friendly too. So I mean it has its more serious moments, but it's a show that I feel like you could watch like, with anyone of all ages kind of thing. Like it's
okay.
really clean. It's not Invincible level violence and stuff like that.
Yeah. And isn't Jack
So
Quaid playing Superman?
yeah, he plays Superman in it.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched it. Maybe I'll get to it because I actually
Yeah.
have
Like I said, it's
HBO.
like
It's
it's
not
like
like
10 episodes long. I think they're like 20-minute episodes. So
yeah,
it's
I'm
not
looking it
it's
up
not a
right
too
now.
long of
Yeah,
a
you know
watch.
what? I feel like I could get through that pretty
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah. Even just to check it out. Give it a couple episodes, see what you think.
All right. My next one is, I mean, this is a cheating a little bit. I got like 2 episodes left, but
Hmm.
Loki season 2. Um,
Yes.
Marvel's just I've just it just has not been good this past
Hmm.
like year or so. I mean, there's been some hits over the last few years since Endgame, but like I still haven't. It's not because it's bad, but I still haven't gotten to Werewolf by Night or
Yeah.
by Midnight. I
Yeah.
think,
Werewolf by Midnight, I think, or Werewolf at Midnight, something like
mm,
that.
but I
I think it's
didn't finish
Werewolf by
Secret
Night. I don't remember.
Invasion. I think it is
Yeah.
by night. Um, I don't know. You're probably gonna get to it in a little bit, but I guess it's kind of surprising. It's surprising how bad it was, and that's like Quantum Mania.
Hmm.
That was just not good. So when Loki season 2, I loved the first season so much, and I was hearing
Yeah.
good things about Loki. I just never got around to it. So starting to
Hmm.
watch it, I definitely liked where it was going. I liked the things that they were doing.
Yeah.
Um, the CGI and everything, it was just great. So it's
Hmm.
definitely, and I do know about like the ending and stuff because it was just one of those like I didn't know if I was going to finish it. So
Yeah.
just
And
the
it's
way
so
they
like
finished it,
prevalent in culture. It's hard to avoid that stuff.
right? I just thought it was great how actually good it was. So it's like
Yeah.
just because you show that, just because you're, it's like I guess going to work, just because like maybe your department is not doing so well, doesn't mean that you still can't excel and
Right.
succeed. So I thought it was great. I think it was a great way to finish Tom Hiddleston's time in the MCU if he wanted to leave.
Right.
So yeah, it was quite the surprise.
Yeah, that's actually next on my list, so I'll share my spiel on it too. I think it was great. I think it's I always would say that WandaVision was the best Marvel show, but after finishing season 2 of Loki's the best Marvel show so far because it's just been so consistent all throughout. Like, I think I like season 2 even better than season 1 of this one because I really liked season 1. I thought it was really cool, and so I was really unsure going into season 2 because I think it's been 2 years I think since season 1. And we've had a lot of misses in the MCU recently. Still decent movies, but it's been so up and down as far as movies and shows go. Especially their shows have been really on the down low. And so I really wasn't sure. I was like, are they going to botch it this season? And so I went in and I was like, okay, episode 1, that's really interesting. Like, they're setting up a lot of really interesting stuff. It's definitely subverted my expectations as far as what they were going to do with He Who Remains and stuff. They went a different direction with it, so I think that was really interesting. And then I won't spoil anything, but like as far as where they wrapped everything up, I thought it was like really, really well paid off for the character of Loki and stuff like that. And I was texting my brother like as we were both watching the show, and he and I were both like, how is this so good and everything else in the MCU is so mediocre right now? Like aside from Guardians 3 and this recently, like how can this stuff be such a miss? But I saw recently, I don't remember if it was an article or a YouTube short or something like that said one of the reasons Loki has been so consistent and so good is they had one writer like throughout both seasons, so it was consistent as far as the writing process went. And then of at least phase 5, if not phase 4 too, it's the only Marvel project that didn't have any reshoots either. So they wrote the script, they stuck to the script, they filmed the script, and they edited, and they didn't change anything. So there was no like, all these executive producers jumping in like, well, maybe we should do this. Let's throw this in there. Oh, let's do this Easter egg here. So it was very consistent as far as like how they went about producing this season and the show and entirely. So I think that's a testament to what you need to do to crack down to kind of turn the MCU in a different direction. Because I still overall enjoy a lot of the movies. There have been some disappointment along the way, but there's definitely still a chance for them to turn things around.
And I think even at one point, if I remember correctly, Loki season 1 was supposed to be longer. So I think season 2 was supposed to be an extension of season 1 or just a longer season. But because of
it
like
really
COVID
feels
or
like
something, it
one
just
thing. It's kind of like Dune in that like season 1 is part 1, and then there's kind of like a cliffhanger setup, and then you got season 2, or would be Dune part 2, just paying everything off from that initial part. So I think it's really well done.
And it's also like such a shame like what's been going with Jonathan Majors, because I loved his performance in Loki season 1, and then I'm enjoying it in Loki season 2 so far. So I'm like that I was really enjoying where it was going, and even though Quantumania was not good,
even Ant-Man, he was one of the best parts of the movie. And Creed 3, he's great in Creed 3.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't expect Miss Minute to be so creepy. I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going on right now?
They definitely went crazy with her.
Yeah. So it was just a really great season. I only, like I said, I got like 1.5 or 2 episodes left, so I can wrap it up pretty quick. I was actually going to try to do it before this streaming, but I just didn't get into it.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. It's a really good ending.
And then my number 1, as you know, is Blue Eye Samurai.
And that's next on my list too.
Yeah, I just you just been on it with the recommendations.
I raved about that thing to you. I've literally watched episode 1 and texted like 10 people about the show. I was like, you gotta watch this.
Yeah, because samurai stuff is just, it's cool, but it's not like that cool to me. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, Samurai Jack, even Afro Samurai, I think are, and The Last Samurai, which again you told me about. I think those are like the only few, but this show, I thought it was incredible. I'm not like the biggest fan of the animation. I think it's kind of reflective for like the time period that they're in, because it's not like animation in anime that we know today,
right?
But I really like the story. I really like the cultural aspects of it. Great characters.
Oh yeah.
I think my favorite part of it is like the motivation for revenge.
Hmm.
It's definitely something different that I don't feel like we've seen in a long
Yeah.
time. And yes,
It's got
it's like
like
very
hints of
personal and
Tarantino, but it still stands on its own kind of thing.
and
Yeah.
a very believable reason to want to be
Yeah.
vengeful, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I remember I was really unsure about it going into it because I'd seen the trailers and I was like, "Well, that sounds really interesting." And the animation looks like it could be really cool, but I was like, "Is this anime? Is it not anime?" Like it's kind of like a little bit in the gray area on that.
hmm
But then I got really interested when in the trailer it said from the writer of Logan and Blade Runner 2049, and I was like, "Well, you got me right there."
Oh,
I love Blade
okay.
Runner 2049 and Logan, so I was like,
Yes.
"If you got that in there for the writing, at least the story is going to be good."
hmm
So I
hmm
thought, yeah, like I said, I did the whole video on it of just how episode one just captivated me. And
Yeah.
I think avoiding spoilers, season finale was like definitely subverted expectations even more as
hmm
far as the setup of where they're going next in season two. So I think it's going to be as one of those shows that's going to definitely pick up more traction the more people that check it out and stuff. I do wish that they would have released this one, if not weekly, in chunks, because I think it would have picked up more traction and popularity,
Mm,
because like it dropped and I don't even think it hit the top 10 on my Netflix for like my,
really.
who most watched kind of thing. Like I think it hit it on like day 2 or 3. It was in the top 10 for shows, but then it dropped off and I haven't seen it on there since. So it's a shame because it's such a good show.
hmm
And like we said, the story's really good, the characters are really good, the animation's great. I think it's definitely one that hopefully as seasons progress we'll be getting more
hmm
traction and stuff. And
Yeah.
you talked about you weren't quite sure about the animation. I actually looked up a little bit of the behind the scenes on it, and it's kind of cool that they 3D animated the show, but they added stuff to make it look 2D animated, which I think was really
Oh,
cool.
okay.
Yeah, so because sometimes when you're watching like an anime and they hop into CG, it's like it really takes you out of it kind of thing.
Yeah,
And so I
definitely.
think that's a cool way of doing it, where like, well, we're gonna 3D animate it, but then let's make it look like 2D animation so that when we do have 3D moments, it doesn't like stand out as much. So I thought that was
hmm
a really, really cool way of doing it. It's funny, it's kind of the opposite of, I don't know if you've watched Klaus, the animated movie on Netflix.
No.
I recommend that one to people all the time. That one is 2D animated, but they animated it to look 3D. So it's kind of the opposite of the Blue Eye Samurai, where
Hmm.
it's 3D made to look 2D, but Klaus is 2D made to look 3D. So
Yeah.
it's just a great show. It's definitely one of my favorite shows from this year.
Yeah. And I just hope with like the premise of like wanting to get revenge on four individuals, I hope like after they wrap up that they just leave the show there. Like
Yeah, yeah,
because
just let it end.
people things get so successful and then like
They're like,
I
well, we
kind of
got to
miss the
keep it
days
going.
where
Yeah.
because I know like The Boys that was really popular. Then they did the spin-off
Hmm.
Gen V, and then I heard
Yeah.
there's another spin-off coming. I'm like, why do we
Hmm.
need two spin-offs of one show?
Right.
And it's like I miss
Yeah,
the
well,
days
from what
where
I've heard, Gen V is basically a continuation of The Boys anyways, so it's like,
right.
well, why do we need it as a spin-off anyways? Let's just make it online with the show.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, because even as much as I loved like A Quiet Place Part 2, I don't think we needed that. I don't think we
Mhm.
needed a prequel for it that's coming out next year,
Yeah. Mhm.
apparently. And it's just like, can't we
Mhm.
just like have a story and then just end
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So I hope they don't mess up the show by trying to
Yeah.
milk it
Yeah.
past
I
what
almost
it
feel
needs
like
to.
they could wrap up the whole story within 2 or 3 seasons maybe,
hmm
because like, without spoiling too much, her main mission for this one, it starts the show off with she's already killed one of them, so there's only
Right.
3 left. And so
hmm
this season is pursuing the one guy, and then what happens, and now we're going after the other two. So I almost wonder if they might be able to wrap up what they're
Yeah.
doing with these other
I was
two guys.
hoping
If
1,
they're
2,
if
3, and
they're
then
if they're if they're in cohorts together, then they might be able to do it all within 2 seasons, and cool. If not, maybe 3 seasons, but I think within a few seasons they should definitely be able to wrap things up.
yeah, absolutely. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times they just figure out a way to keep it going, and we're like,
Yeah.
why did you do that?
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
hopefully they are wiser than not wise with that. Well, the last
Yeah.
one I wanted to talk about, this is one I have not finished yet. I'm about halfway through it. It's on HBO. I don't remember if I've talked to you about this, but it's called Scavenger's Reign.
I don't think so.
Okay, it's super, super underrated. It's not really super popular, but it's very highly rated. from the people who have seen it, and it's an adult animated series. And basically, the premise for it is it takes place on this alien planet where a ship crash landed there and a number of people got out on escape pods and they're spread out across different areas of the planet, and it's this super like
Mhm.
weird alien life, like weirder than like Avatar like aliens that they come up with
Weirder
and
than
stuff like
that.
that. Yeah, and so it's all these
I mean, this
crazy
is
different
starting to sound a
creatures.
little vaguely familiar. So maybe you did.
Yeah,
Maybe I heard about it
I don't.
somewhere.
Yeah, I don't remember or not, but it's really interesting. And so you're kind of like hopping along from the different perspectives of the people because they're all separate and they're trying to get back to the crash site of the ship so they can get things back together and get back on their mission. But all along the way, there's all these just crazy alien life forms that are coming after them. And then one of the coolest things of the show is just how like in depth the ecosystem is. Like I've been blown away by how detailed it all is as far as like the evolution of all of these different creatures and plant life and stuff.
Hmm.
Like it's so interesting to watch, and it definitely is, like I said, adult animated. Like it's very violent and stuff like
So
that.
is it like
But it's
watching
like
Alien but different?
in some ways, yeah. But it's very very cool. One person I saw somewhere described it kind of like the animation style and the world almost looks kind of like a Ghibli movie, but it's like very adult and mature kind of thing. So if you can kind of understand what I mean by that, of the animation style that Ghibli likes to use with Miyazaki movies, it's kind of like that. It's a little more rough around the edges and
I'm
more
gonna have to
like
take it. I've
exaggerated.
looked it up on IMDb. I'm gonna have to take a
Yeah,
screenshot so I don't forget to check it out.
yeah, yeah. I think the ratings on it are like 8 or 9 out of 10 for most
Yeah, it
people.
looked like
So it's
a
very
8.8.
yeah, it's very well rated. It's just one that like hasn't like breached that
Hmm.
popularity yet. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm halfway through, so hopefully going to finish that one up in the next week or two.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah,
So,
definitely giving me some more stuff to check out. Like I said, I've just been watching One Piece, and that's all I've
hmm
kind of really been
yeah,
doing. So
yeah. I've
it'd be
been
nice to kind of
trying to
get something else in
finish.
rotation.
Yeah, I've been trying to finish Dragon Ball Z Kai. I got like 5 or 6 episodes left. I'm almost there.
So you've watched like Z and like you didn't watch Z because you watched Z Kai,
No, I'm
right?
watching Z Kai, which is like an adaptation of it, kind of. It's like a trimmed down version of Z. They took all the
Mm.
fluff out, basically.
Oh, okay. Nothing's
So
wrong with
yeah,
that.
yeah, so I've been really enjoying that. So once I finish that, then I'm going to start Dragon Ball Super and probably My Hero Academia. I've been really wanting to start My
Oh
Hero
yeah.
Academia.
I need to finish Dragon Ball. The first I don't even remember where I stopped with that. I just
Yeah, you
haven't
were
finished.
you were like 2/3 of the way through, I think, of the original series, somewhere around there,
Yeah, I was getting
or maybe
close.
halfway. You was like halfway to 2/3, somewhere in
Hmm.
there. Yeah,
And I don't remember why I took a break. I just never
yeah.
got back to it. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, we hinted at it a little bit, but I wanted to mention my surprise duds as far as movies and TV
Yes,
shows.
yes, yes.
So the surprise dud movie is Ant-Man Quantumania, which we've already hinted at. But
Yes.
I was really excited for that because I was like, Jonathan Majors, he's having a great run right now.
Mhm.
I really like the first two Ant-Man movies. Like they're
Yeah.
really nice, like palette cleansers when it comes to like the darker
Mhm.
parts of the MCU and stuff. So I was really looking forward to it. And then it came out and it just got like panned by critics and fans.
Yeah,
We
man.
didn't even get to see it in theaters, so we watched it when it came to Disney Plus. And I still remember I texted you right afterwards and I was like, this is the first MCU movie I didn't like.
That's why
And
I
now,
was reluctant to accept that
yeah, I knew you had kind of like
sweepstakes.
hinted at like where I might fall on it. And then
Yeah.
afterwards I was like, yep, this is the first one I didn't like. I mean,
Yeah.
I liked aspects of it, and I would
Mhm.
rewatch it. Like, I'm still planning on buying it because I buy all the MCU movies, but I don't want to pay full price for it. I want it for less than $10. Like, I'm not going out of my way to get it. I just
Yeah.
want it for sake of
Mhm.
completion within the collection. So, like, the main reason I would go and rewatch it is for probably the creativity within the quantum realm. I thought that was really cool,
Yeah.
and definitely, I mean, it's cheesy, but
I
it's
mean,
really
that's what I
cool.
didn't like. Yeah.
Yeah, and then but I mean, the effects themselves, they were pretty bad. Jonathan Majors, best part of the movie, probably.
Mhm.
But now with everything going on with him, I don't even think they're gonna do anything with Kang.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I think I was very, very upset that they like recast Emma Furlong, who's like
yeah, it's so
Scott's
weird that they
daughter,
keep
and then
recasting her.
they
Yeah.
just recasted her out
Every
of
movie it's a
nowhere.
different actress. Like I
Yeah.
understand as she's growing up, you gotta do it,
Mhm.
but come on.
Because I think
How hard
Emma
is it to
Furlong
pick
was at
someone
least
and
like
stick with it?
22 or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was, and then
That
the
just
worst part
makes
was
it more
she
confusing.
found out over like a tweet or something that she was recast. So
Yeah.
it's like Disney didn't even like call
Didn't
her.
even
They're
tell
just
her.
like,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, what? And then it
Yeah.
was just
Well,
very
and I think it's
jarring
weird
because I was,
too because the Ant-Man movies take place over a good bit of time. So
mm-hmm.
it's harder to track the growth of the characters when the youngest character in the show that is growing up throughout this keeps changing actors. So it's like, how am I
Right.
supposed to know how old this person is when you keep changing who's playing
Yeah.
her?
And I
So I
think
mean,
I don't know. I don't, there was no place for it in the movie, but Michael Pena being like not there was
I
like
know I
a
missed him for
definite
sure.
L.
Yeah, they should have at
Yeah.
least put some kind of mid credits in with him or
Hmm.
something.
Or at least have him play a character. I would have
Yeah.
been.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
hey, you remind me of my friend Louise. He's like, oh, really? Tell me about that
Yeah.
or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Just,
could have done that, done some mid-credit thing, so at least we
mhm.
end the movie on a high note
Yeah,
or something like that.
definitely. And I
This
almost put Cocaine Bear in my list, but I
yeah.
wasn't
I
surprised
was
by it.
considering that one
It was
too,
just
yeah.
I knew what it was gonna be, and I got what I wanted. So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right, yeah, you see the trailers and you're like, "That looks like this kind of movie," then you watch and you're like, "Yeah, it's that kind of movie," but it was fun.
yeah. I almost put Elemental 2. I
Mhm.
just didn't like it enough to like put it on there. Like it was
Yeah,
animation was
I
good. It was
loved
just
Elemental, yeah. I was excited for it leading up, and then I loved it even more. It's one of my favorites
mm,
from this year.
I don't know. It just made me. It just was too Zootopia-ish for me. And
Yeah.
Tyler's very like insistent on that. I'm just like misunderstanding what they were going for in Elemental, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I just
Yeah.
can't get past that. Like
Yeah.
that's just what it reminded me of.
I don't think it's to the maturity level that Soul was as far as
Hmm.
like accessibility for adults, but I feel like it leaned more on that side because it was like a romance and it was like you wouldn't expect Pixar to do a romance
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
So I liked that aspect of it and their
Hmm.
relationship was really interesting and their different individual struggles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of the more interesting
Hmm.
Pixar movies of recent
Yeah.
years that I really liked. So
I
I
did,
still think
however,
Soul's
think
the most
it was
mature
this.
one, but
Yeah, I know. I definitely could see that. Especially in just in the way to like relate to people, where like Joe was the
mhm.
cat, and he was like, "Hey, I didn't know you like this." He's like, "Well, you never asked, Joe, but I'm
Yeah,
glad you did know." I'm like,
yeah,
that kind of cuts deep, but
yeah,
kind of says like, "Hey, you got to ask people more than just
yeah,
about yourself."
yeah, yeah.
But
After
going back to
watching
Elemental real
Elemental,
quick,
yeah,
it was kind of a stretch to me that like he just let the light shine through him to light the candle. It's like, look, it's my flame. I was like, is it
yeah.
though? But it was just like, okay, I guess
Look, give
that's a
him a
great.
win where he needs it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, all right, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to go watch Soul again because I've still only seen it once. But after watching Elemental and it gave me some of like the more mature
Mhm,
theme vibes, I was
mhm,
like, I need to go watch Soul again
yeah,
because I loved Soul. That's like a crushing movie.
mhm. I think Soul my favorite part, like, the funniest joke in that for me was when, what's her name? What's Miley Cyrus's character?
I don't remember. That's
Hold
why I
on.
need to
We
rewatch
know
it
who
because
we're
I'm so far removed. Yeah.
that's what we know who we're talking about, where she's talking to
Hmm.
Abraham Lincoln, says, "Oh, you," he's like, "I'm fine with being on a $5 bill or something." She's like, "Oh, because Jackson's on a 20." He's like, "Jackson," he, like, freaks out.
Yeah.
That was, like,
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. They did
Yeah.
really good humor in that one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't remember where I was. It was recently, but they like played a clip for some kids, like or like in high school, kind of like a way to kind of like they're trying to get them to write about themselves or something, and like using the
Hmm.
clip. It's like, hey, tell me what you think about that, and like, and I'm like, that was such a really good movie to use for that because it's just
Yeah. For that
it
illustration.
was
Yeah.
it was another one of those things where I was like, I wasn't really interested, but when I
Hmm.
somehow watched it, I don't even remember how I ended up watching it. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I really like this. It's
Hmm.
different, and the themes that it talks about are a lot different, and
Yeah. Yeah.
just in
Kind of
every
like
way.
the Inside Out movie too. Like I'm
Mhm.
based on that trailer, I'm really excited for what Inside Out 2 is going to be. It seems
I
like
don't think I
they're
saw the
going in a
trailer
good
yet.
they're going in a good natural next step.
Mhm.
So I won't tell you anything about it. I'll let you watch the trailer, but it looks like it's going to be another really good one. It's not one of those like, well, the first one did so good, we got to make another one. It was like,
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's probably partially because the first one was so successful, but it
True.
seems like they actually put the work in to write a good story so
And it's the
far.
same
So,
family, right? It's just she's just older.
yeah, it's a continuation. It takes place like either right after or not long after the first one.
All right. I might have
Yep.
to go watch the trailer now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good. So that's the end of our Ant-Man conversation.
Yes.
We ended
Yes.
talking about Pixar. But dud TV shows. I was really bummed that I had to put this one on this list, but I didn't even finish Secret Invasion.
Oh
That's how
yeah,
bummed out.
man.
That's how much I did
I
not
think I
like
got
that
like
show. And I was
halfway.
yeah, I didn't watch the last like 2 or 3 episodes. Now I've looked
Mhm.
up the ending to see what happens, and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't watch
Right.
it. But I was like super excited about the show leading up to it. I mean, it's the marketing, but the trailers looked so good, and I was like, oh, this seems like it's gonna be a really interesting like spy type story. Like we're going back to like Winter Soldier kind of thing with like the secrets of the MCU and stuff.
Hmm.
And then within a episode or two, you already know it's like this is not what I signed up for.
Right. Now the whole
And
War
then it
Machine
just
being in a scroll thing, I think was still kind of a cool
yeah,
twist. Though there are some
yeah,
issues with that because everybody's like,
yeah,
"You mean he wasn't there for Tony's death or any of
right,
that?" Like,
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
that kind of ruins it for me. But since most people
Hmm.
pretend it doesn't exist anyway, I think it'll be fine.
Right, yeah. So that'll be interesting to
Mhm.
see if they actually just kind of like soft reboot what they did with that, or if they just
Yeah.
let's just pretend that didn't
Because
happen,
the other
guys.
thing is, I haven't seen it yet, but I heard I don't remember whose review it was that I watched, but I heard somewhere somebody saying that like the Nick Fury in the Marvels is like nothing like he is in
That's what I've
Secret
heard too.
Invasion. So
Yeah,
it's like,
he's like super like down and depressed in Secret Invasion,
mhm.
and then he's just like the butt end of the joke and like just funny throughout all of Marvels, and it's like, is this the same guy?
Right?
is he
Like,
is he a scroll too?
so yeah, I mean, I haven't, I gave up on that show and I haven't watched it so long. I
Hmm.
barely even remember what happens. And I
I
do
know.
know with how it ends, and I was just like, why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
oh,
pretty sure, didn't they say that like they got AI to like write part of that show or something, and
I
that was what
don't
it came up
remember.
with? I feel like I heard that on
I
TikTok
just
or
think everything
something.
about the show, I just kind of
Or
was like,
maybe that's
eh.
just how bad it was that people are like, did AI write this? And then Disney's gonna be like, yeah, we didn't write that. Like, let's just let it lie.
But then again,
Bury it.
it's like if you let AI write it, then you did kind of write it, you know?
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah. You
didn't
put the
go through it
prompts
and
in.
say you
Yeah.
had to read the script and go through it. So you're just like
Yeah.
that seemed it. And then like the whole, getting the DNA of like all the and it's like Groot. I'm
Hmm.
like, how in the world did you get Groot's DNA? I
Right.
mean, he's a
Yeah.
plant, first of all, and two, like that doesn't make any sense, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The logistics that would have been required to get all that stuff is astounding.
Exactly. It's like Thor, Captain America. I was like,
Yeah.
how in the world, at any point in time, were anybody
Yeah.
ever anywhere close to any of
Yeah.
them to get their
Because it's
DNA?
not like all the Avengers just slept at the Avengers compound or something, and they would have just like poked them in their sleep or something.
Yeah. Because did you watch like Batman Beyond?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Justice League Unlimited episode where it's like the epilogue?
I don't remember that one. Yeah.
Well, Terry, I guess he finds out that like Bruce Wayne's his father because he
Right.
got
Yeah.
injected with like his DNA. And he goes
Hmm.
and talks to Amanda Waller about it. And she's like, getting his DNA was easy because he left it everywhere. Because it's like getting in fights, and getting money to
Right.
get like
Yeah.
he's getting scratched up because he's just a normal
Right.
guy. So
Blood
it's
and
easy.
sweat and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
so it's
Yeah.
easy to
Uh-huh.
get his DNA, but
Yeah.
like Captain Thor and all that. I was like, how? How?
Yeah.
It just there's no way. Like you said, it's
Yeah.
just astounding to the way
Yeah.
that so it's like no conceivable way would you ever be able to, you know, get any of that stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So did
So
you have any more like duds aside from
no,
Secret
those are.
Invasion?
I mean, I might be able to come up with another one if I'd thought about it more. But I was like, well, I need at least like if we're talking about all these good surprises, we need a couple bad surprises too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I think that was it for me. Like I said, I haven't really watched too many movies, too many
Hmm.
2023 releases. I haven't seen Invincible
Yeah,
season 2, so I
it's
think
so
that
good.
was kind of it. I mean, maybe
Yeah,
Mario. I was kind of surprised
yeah.
how much
Mario
I
was
like
another
that.
one. It didn't make my list, but that was another one.
I had it
Another
and
one
I
where
was
it's
like,
like it's not a great movie, but it's a heck of a fun movie.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then the weird thing, like you were saying, they kind of well, in a way, like within Mario, they kind of blended the Mario world versus the real world. I don't
Yeah,
is it called the Mario world? I don't know what it's called.
it's something like that. Because
And then it's like,
yeah, you kind
well,
of get a hint
no.
of that in Mario Odyssey, where
Mm,
like there's the world of Super Mario, and then there's like the real world where Mario comes from, kind of thing. It's all, from what I've heard, it's all a lot of like gray areas as far as like the lore that goes into it.
yeah, yeah. And then like I think the most interesting part about it was like Bowser being in love with Peach. Because I remember I asked
Hmm.
you and my friend Clay, I said, at any point in time, did they ever clarify why Bowser was bad? Because I don't remember him ever having a motivation aside from just being bad.
Right.
And then he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I love Princess Peach." I was like, I guess I could to
Yeah,
that,
yeah. I mean, he
but
always in the games he always kidnapped the princess, so they're just like, well, let's just make him in love with her.
yeah, maybe they would pull an Amazing Spider-Man where he tries to turn her into whatever he is, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Just join me.
Yeah, so well, we are getting close to an hour, man. I mean, it's been fun.
Oh, it was a fun discussion.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully 2024. Okay, all right, real quick. Last few
Uh-huh.
minutes. What are three movies and three TV shows you're looking forward to next year, not including Dune Part 2, because I think that's just a given.
Hold on, let me pull up my list of movies that I'm excited for. I have a list. I was just working on it last night, actually.
Oh, nice.
I don't know about TV shows because I haven't looked at that yet. If at this point, I'd only be able to name ones that are going to be like coming back for like another season.
True.
But as far as movies go, we have. It's a smaller one. It's a Blumhouse movie, but that Night Swim movie. I don't know if you've seen the trailer
I
for it.
just heard about it like today, and I just
Yeah, it
didn't
looks
seem
like it could
interested.
be
I just
really
scrolled
cool.
past it, so I
Yeah,
might have
I
to
mean,
look
I'm
at
not saying it's like on my top 10 most anticipated, but it looks like it'll be a really fun,
because is it one of
interesting
those
little
like
horror
they get
movie.
stuck under the pool like at night
Yeah,
or
they're
something,
like doing like a night swim, and
and then
then
the
there's
thing
some
closes
like
up?
monstrous entity that like traps them underwater or something like
Oh,
that. So
okay.
it
Something
seems
like
like
I
it'll be one
figured it
of
was
those
gonna be
like
something like
single
that.
location, like
Mm.
supernatural thrillers kind of thing.
What about
So I
Fall?
mean,
Didn't you watch that this year? Did you? What'd
oh
you think
yeah,
of that?
fall was really good.
I might
Yeah,
have to
fall
watch
was
that.
really fun. Yeah, it's not like a
Amazing.
great movie, but it's one of those like you just have a fun time watching it. Let's see. So as far as like actual like really highly anticipated, obviously Dune Part 2's up there, but that's the exception. I'm really excited for the new Planet of the Apes movie.
Yeah,
I
that's
hope
on my
that's
list.
another really good one. And then that I watched that Furiosa trailer that came
Oh, I
out
haven't
last night.
watched it yet.
Oh, it looks so
I guess
good.
I'm gonna watch it as soon as we end this call. I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
gonna
it
be on my
looks
list too.
so good. Because I was like interested because I was like, yeah, that'd be cool to get some background on Furiosa. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, this is so good. This is
And they
gonna be
got
so
Anya
good.
Taylor-Joy, you know?
Yeah. And I didn't even know Chris Hemsworth was going to be in it.
I
He's like
didn't
the
know
villain
either.
in it
I
or
just
something.
saw
So
the
that's going to be
picture. I
cool.
was like, "What?"
Yeah. So that looks like it's going to be really good. So we got Planet of the Apes, Furiosa, and then there is another Alien movie coming out next year. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I think I did. I
Alien
thought it was.
Romulus, I think it's going to be
Isn't it on
called.
Hulu or something?
I don't know if it's going to be a streaming movie or if it is a theatrical movie. I'm not sure. But
I'll just go with those same 3 too.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
those I'm really looking forward to. Another one I'm excited about, I hope is good, is that Fall Guy movie. Have you seen the trailer for that one? It's another Ryan
Yes,
Gosling one
again, and
where he's
Emily
like a
Blunt,
stuntman.
like
Yeah, and Emily Blunt.
and
Like
then
that looks
Aaron
like it'd be
Taylor
fun.
Johnson, I mean, it kinda sucks that he appears to die in the trailer because Aaron Taylor Johnson
Yeah,
is great,
he's
especially,
so
like, in
cool.
Bullet Train. I
Oh, I
mean,
love him in Bullet Train. Yeah,
That movie and then, Outlaw King, I think are 2 of his best
yeah, yep.
performances. It's
Oh
just
yeah, he's a
I keep trying
madman
to
in
get
Outlaw King.
Tyler to watch Bullet Train. We might at some point because I'm like, it's.
Yeah,
I think I
I
never like. I keep saying that one scene where like one of them dies, and then they will find the
uh-huh.
other, and then later he
Yeah,
actually dies, and he. I was like,
right.
man, that was.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotion in just those
Oh
two
yeah,
characters, you
yeah.
know.
I need to go watch that one again
So
too.
I'm looking forward to another performance from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are probably some of the ones I'm most excited for. Oh, that Lord of the Rings anime movie that's coming out next
There's
year.
an
Have you heard
anime
about
Lord
that?
of the Rings movie coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim, and it's basically an origin for how Rohan like got to and established Helm's Deep as like their fortress kind of thing.
Okay, because I think I
So,
told you yesterday or the other day at work, I finally finished the Helm's Deep chapter.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
I just kind of got back to where they get Theoden like from under Wormtongue's like influence,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and then Helm's Deep. So that'd be interesting to
Yeah,
learn
so
more
this
about
takes place,
that.
I think, like 200 years before the Lord of the Rings
Okay,
trilogy,
okay,
and it's about some guy named Helm that will eventually, get the
yeah,
namesake
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah. They mentioned
Helm's
that in the
Deep.
book. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're
So
talking
yeah.
about.
So that sounds like it's gonna be really cool. There's no like trailers or anything out for it yet. All you can see is like the cast and there's a couple concept images, but I'm
Hmm,
already sold on it.
interesting.
Like I think that's gonna be really, really cool. So that comes out in December next year. It was supposed to come out in the summer, but then they delayed it till
Of course
December.
they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, that sounds awesome, man. We're gonna have to do this again next year because it sounds
Yes.
like it's
Yeah.
gonna be a good year.
Oh yeah. It's
Oh,
cool because so much of what we're excited for, like a lot of the movies we talked about in this one and shows, we didn't even know about going into the year. They just
yeah,
came out of
yeah.
nowhere and they were a huge surprise and really good. So
Mhm.
it's always
Yeah,
exciting going into the year being excited for certain things, not knowing what else is going to come and being
mhm.
surprised.
Especially like I said with like Netflix, they've just been killing it with their TV shows. I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Stranger Things, Daredevil was still like a massive hit.
Hmm. Oh
Blue
yeah.
Eye Samurai.
Hmm.
They're just really killing it with their TV
Yeah,
shows.
they've had some really good shows this year.
Oh, I think Ozark. That's a Netflix one, isn't it?
Yep,
I really
Ozark's a
liked
Netflix one.
Ozark.
That's a
I
good
didn't like
one.
the ending though, but it was an
Yeah, I was
overall
a
good
little
show.
mixed on the ending, but the show is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we could keep talking about this for hours, but I'm
Hmm.
sure we both have to get on with the rest of our day. So
Yeah.
it's been really great talking to you,
Oh
man.
yeah, it was a great time. Thanks
Yeah,
for inviting me.
you're welcome. I'll see you later.
See ya.